So now we're live, Tess. This is our first episode of Pinoy Homes Canada. So hopefully this is shaping up to be our our show catering to the Filipino population or the Filipino community in Canada about anything real estate. Like just casual talk about real estate.
Real estate and
Nakakalimutan ko
mortgages.
mag-Tagalog pero
Same.
yeah. Well,
We're gonna try.
real estate in general. Na anything about home buying, selling, financing, that's what we're going to be
Leasing.
talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I
Okay.
think to start off, I think let's kind of have a review of how the market is doing in terms of, I guess, statistically how the buying and selling happening. I don't know if you have any of those numbers ready, and also in terms of interest rates. So I'll start off from the
Okay.
interest rate side. We're practically like I think we're on a declining rate environment, right? Na pababa siya ng pababa. It's not at the bottom yet. Alam natin na bababa pa lang siya in the future as well. Kasi nga dahil ang the Canadian environment is our economy is suffering a bit at the moment, right?
It has something to do with the inflation rate too. Inflation rate went down from 2.9 to
Mm-hmm,
2.7
mm-hmm.
from last month, and that was one of the big contributing factor. Kaya bumaba yung rate. I heard because there's three more announcements, right, for variable rates. I
Mm-hmm.
heard
I
there's
think
three.
kailan ba yung susunod? Sa September, right?
September 25, I think. Yeah.
September
I heard
25,
there's
yeah.
three more to go. So there are three more to go, and I think maybe two out of three, the rate's going to go down
Mm-hmm,
again. So if that's the case, even just two more rate reduction is going to make it
mm-hmm,
like at least 1% in total.
mm-hmm.
Because 0.25, hopefully another point 0.5 coming up before end of the year.
Yeah, I
It's
think
going to
with
make it
everything
substantial.
coupled with with inflation, unemployment, I think like it might even be like every single announcement it is going to go down just
Yeah,
to
we
kind
good.
of help boost up the economy.
Yeah. Besides, they kind of like they're saying that it's probably going to be 2025 before the rate reductions gonna like big rate reductions gonna happen. So right now we're just slowly getting there, and that's why a lot of buyers are not really out yet to buy properties because it's not a substantial change. It's not really making a big
Mm-hmm,
impact on
mm-hmm.
how much they can afford. It's still the rate's still pretty high.
Yeah, well, from the financing standpoint, right? What somebody would qualify for, it hasn't really affected it much dahil nga it only gone down, let's say 50 basis points, right?
Yeah, only 50. Yeah.
So for from the qualifying point of view, it doesn't make a difference, much of a difference at this point.
So the qualifying rate is still very high. How much is it right now, pal?
Well, keep in mind the qualifying rate is whatever your rate is plus two,
Okay, so it's been the same. So
right? So
whatever the
yeah,
rate.
so kung 50 basis points pa lang ang binaba, like you're probably like in terms of purchasing power, you're probably looking at like I don't know, maybe 20, $30,000 na you can qualify more, which in the grand scheme of things is not that big, right? So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Especially in GTA means nothing.
Mhm.
Really, it's not a big deal. Yeah, it has to be substantial for people like to really make up their mind and go out and start looking.
Mhm.
So,
And so in terms of one thing I wanted to clarify because a lot of people kind of talk about rates and then they hear the rate announcement and they come back to me. It's like, Paulo, so bumaba na yung rate. So what's my new rate? The one thing I wanted to
right.
clarify out there is so the rate announcement that the policy rate that right now is I guess is it 4.5?
It's 4.5, the
That
Bank of
doesn't
Canada.
directly translate to you. Yeah, the Bank of Canada rate. That doesn't
Yeah.
translate to particularly affect your mortgage. So what that is that's the rate that it affects two types of products out there, right? So the variable rate mortgage and your home equity lines of credit or your unsecured line of credit. So kung
Right.
may fixed rate ka, that's not you're not being affected by this
Yep.
news, right?
That's
So
right.
just to clarify again, so the Bank of Canada announcement about rate affects you if you have a variable rate or a line of credit. Pero kung fixed rate holder ka, that doesn't affect you. That is affected by the bond market.
That's really good
Okay?
that you clarify that because there's so many people are so confused with that. They really think na yung Bank of Canada rate is their rate.
Yeah. So
First of all, your rate probably started at 6%. How would that go down to 4.5? So again, like what Paulo said, 4.5 is what the Bank of Canada lends to all the lenders,
yeah,
which is financial
exactly.
institutions,
Eh,
brokerage.
Tapos at that, yung 4.5 na yon, then you're gonna think that the bank has to make money, right? So they
Yeah.
have their premium on top of that.
Right. That's
So
right.
para it's just clarified because like yeah, it's surprising. Like I know it's not that easy to understand because realistically the I'm not an economist, right? So like in terms of how
So do I.
everything affects what, it's pretty complicated. But that's
Yeah.
the basic things. Variable rate, that rate announcement does affect you that from the Bank of Canada, pero yung fixed rates is affected by the bond rates.
That's right. That's exactly right. So right now, I think the prime rate is at 6.95.
Prime rate 6.95.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what it is. So see the
And then you
difference,
get a discount.
6.95,
Yeah.
4.5, big difference. So it's
So
not the same.
typically you're getting a discount on that depending on kung magkano yung down payment mo. So now I don't want to go too far into it. Na you have your secured and unsecured rates.
Yeah.
When we say secured, that's when you're paying your CMHC premium. Yan yung nagbabayad ka ng insurance, right? So
Right.
you're getting the best rate if you're paying that insurance premium.
20% down payment and up.
Yeah. And also, one of the qualifications too is your purchase price is under $1 million.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
So yeah, just to clarify that part. In terms
Yeah.
of rates.
That calls for another session.
Yeah, I think we should
Because that's
actually
very-
because it is not we definitely need a separate thing to kind of explain that and kind of dive
Yeah.
deep more into that.
Mhm.
Pero for the time being, yun lang ang ano ko na just fixed rates, you're looking at the Canadian bond rates to what you should
That's
be
really
following.
good. That's good to know. So that's okay. So that's the variable rates and the Bank of Canada rate announcement. So in terms of if it's now is the right time to buy, a lot of it's like $1 million question. A lot of people is asking. That really depends dun sa personal circumstances ng yung financial, right? Your finances. I always tell my client, first thing first is to get a pre-approval. Otherwise, we can't move forward, right? If we don't know how much you are able to afford, we don't know where are we gonna start? That would be basically the basic thing that we do. So I always tell my client, I have to, it's either you talk to your lender if you prefer. Obviously, I highly recommend seeing a mortgage broker because they have over 20 lenders to choose from, and they pick the best the best lender that is the right one for your situation, because everybody's different, right?
For sure.
I
Well,
never go ahead.
Well, do you feel that given the market right now, aside from the process of buying or what they should do first, obviously, like I do agree, a lot of people it's not advisable that you're shopping there without knowing what you can qualify
Waste of
for.
time. Yeah.
For everybody, right?
Yeah.
For your realtor, for yourself, dahil you can be in love with a property that's 1 million and then you can qualify for maybe 700, right?
Exactly.
So, but from being in the front lines right now of buying and selling, do you feel like there's opportunity to wait, or like I definitely know it's situational. I think me personally, I think if you're renting and 100% of what you're paying doesn't go anywhere but to the landlord, yeah, I think any time is a better. If you're ready financially, I think it's a good time to buy. But let's say from a perspective of downsizing, upsizing, or even for an investment, should people be waiting just because the market's a bit funny at this point?
Again, you have to check your financial situation. Let's just say you got pre-approved, right? And you're buying for a rental investment, so meaning it's your second property. Right now, even though it's a buyer's market, right? Because the rate is really high, a lot of a lot of owners or landlords are not cash flowing. So I'd say I'll wait a little bit more.
Mhm.
Maybe early next year, maybe end of the year, because again, we're expecting to have two, maybe three more reductions. And that would
Mhm.
be maybe maybe it's going to be a big deal based on, it's going to help them lower their mortgage payments. But right now, the rental is not enough to cover the mortgage payments, including the fees for maintenance and other things, right? So I don't advise to really right now to buy properties for rental investment, unless you have the funds and you think you can afford it.
Mhm.
But
Well, I
the rent
think in
right now is
particular
lower.
too,
Yeah.
I'm dealing. Mhm. I think in particular to the condo market, just because you have
Yes.
to account for yung condo fees, which eats up a lot of your cash flow, and
Yes,
that's
that's
why a
right.
lot of investors are, are negative cash flow. And
Negative.
also,
Yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of people need to understand the condo market when you're purchasing and the new construction and how long it takes to buy, because there is a risk to it. I am actually dealing with one client right now that I'm having a hard time getting financing because the value is not
For
there.
buying a condo.
Buying a condo under, well, this is again a different a different topic for a different day, is
Yes.
it's under a
Just let's
holding
touch it.
company.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
under a holding company. They're looking to do a
Oh,
purchase, which makes things a bit more complicated. Like a lot of the A lenders are not willing to do holding companies, right? For a purchase. So be careful with that as well. But again, that's another topic for a different day. Yeah, so I think we answered in terms of, I guess with when it comes to the question, whether it's the right time to buy, definitely it's a situational piece.
it is.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
But
but
I'm
it.
always, yeah, but
Mhm.
personally, I'd say that if you're financially ready, you have to jump in,
Mhm.
right? Especially if you're a first time home buyer. All you need is 5% down payment.
Mhm.
500,000, you need 25,000. And what pa, 1 to 2.5% for closing costs?
Mhm.
If you're financially ready, I don't understand why people are waiting if they already have the funds and they're ready to go.
I
What are
think the
you
key.
waiting for? Like right
Yeah.
now, you can't, like right now, the condo market right now, I'd say there's an increase of 51.3% in inventory. You know what that
Mhm.
means?
Mhm.
There's a lot to choose from,
Mhm.
and you can
Mhm.
negotiate the price down, so you can do a lot. So you have to see a realtor for that. Honestly, if you are financially ready, you have to jump in right now. For those people, especially first time home buyer, you're gonna live in it, you're gonna rent anyways. If you weren't
Mhm.
not gonna buy, you're
I,
gonna
I
spend
I
money
think I think that's the key word. If
to
you're a
buy.
first-time home buyer and trying to get into the market, it is an
Yes.
attractive market to get into because
Yeah.
your other option is you're renting, right?
Exactly. Where you're
So
just throwing money and making the landlord like, well, right now the landlord's not really getting richer because a lot of them
yeah.
can't really pay the mortgage payments. But for first time home buyers, they need a place to live, right? And
So
if they're
yeah,
paying
it
three
shouldn't
thousand,
matter. Yeah, it when that's what I always say. The value of the real estate doesn't really matter in between, right? So if it's gonna go down, let's say you buy today and it goes down next year, but you're thinking of living there in the next 5 to 10 years.
exactly.
The only values that matter in real estate is what you buy and when you sell. So if you're not
That's
planning on
correct. Yeah.
selling, you have time, right? So.
Yeah. At
Mhm.
least stay there for 3 to 5 years. I always say at least five, but three
Mhm.
years at least minimum is 3 years.
Yeah,
So
I.
you'll see the appreciation value, right? And then if you want to expand later, go upside. You want to upsize, then sell it. At least you're building equity compared
Mhm.
to
So
renting
yeah.
where you're just throwing your money out. Again, it depends on your financial stability.
Mhm.
If you can't afford to buy right now, because maybe you just landed a job that's kind of tricky. Well, first of all, if you just got a job, maybe even 6 months or something, and you think it's not, the job is kind of risky, you're losing it. And I mean, your mortgage broker will tell you anyways, and the bank, they know the risk. So they're really expert on this one. They know exactly, they've seen this every day. So, right, Pao?
Yeah,
You've seen
no,
a
for
lot
sure.
of situations like this,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that's one thing. Why this is why it's so important to meet up with your trusted mortgage broker before you even start looking for a place to buy.
Hmm.
So yeah. So
Well, I
yeah.
think, yeah. So I think the next thing that we had here to discuss was, so it's if it's the right time to buy, again, depending on your situation, let's
Yes.
talk about affordability, right? And I think for the example that I chose, because to me, I personally, if you're gonna get into the market, if you can try to get into maybe like even the condo townhouses, which has lower monthly fees, because I've owned condos, and personally, like, you know what, like all the amenities that you have, sometimes it's all just like added bonuses, but in the reality of things, you're not using all of them.
Yep.
So if you're not one that you're really swimming every day, you're not whatever, you
Using
know,
the
like,
gym.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're not using the gym, don't pay 500, $600, $700 for condo fees, right?
That's right. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of those were incorporated in your maintenance fees.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have those, it's so much lesser, like
Mm-hmm.
so much lower.
Mm-hmm.
So, it
Kaya
depends on what
I
you're looking for.
always think about your old property as an example, because you know
Yeah,
it's a nice condo townhouse area, tapos mababa ang condo fees niya, so that's why to me it's more ideal to get into.
exactly. Yeah.
So
Well located as well, so I was able to sell it fast.
mhm, mhm,
And if you wanted to rent it out within 24 hours, it's gone.
mhm,
you know,
mhm.
so those kind of things are really important. But in terms of affordability, what are you looking at? Like in terms of price?
I
Give
think,
me an
like I was saying,
example.
I'm thinking about 600,000, just so that, you know, like as an example, 600,000, if that gets you into like a condo townhouse type of situation, or even like, let's say, a two-bedroom condo, uh, you know, because a lot more people have small families and everything, right?
Yeah,
So for a 600 purchase right now with today's market, you're looking at about a $35,000 down payment, right? So 35,000 minimum down payment, closing costs, depending on what you're buying, let's say about 2%, right?
that's
Because
about right. Yeah.
it's more expensive in Toronto because land transfer taxes are higher, right? It's
Hmm.
practically double.
Right.
But as we were talking, the reason because being is dahil mas mababa naman ang property tax when you're
Property
downtown
tax.
Toronto.
Yeah.
Tapos when you're outside, like yourself in Ajax, or even, you know, other people, Mississauga, you know, Guelph, Kitchener, their
Property
property
tax is
taxes
very
are
high.
higher than downtown
Yeah.
Toronto, right?
Right. It evens up.
Hmm. So I accounted for about, I think, closing cost about, let's say, $12,000. Actually, was it 12,000? Yeah, 12,000. That's 2%. So that's approximately
35
what I
plus
put.
12,
So 35 plus 12, you have 47. Tapos
nearly
kung
50.
first time home buyer ka, you are potentially eligible for the rebate
The
for first
rebate
time home
for,
buyers,
yeah,
and that could be applied to land transfer taxes, right?
that's right. How much is
It,
that? 4,000? 8,000?
it's about 4,000, I think. I
4,000
think they
something. Yeah.
increased it. Yeah. So yeah.
That's
So
good.
ballpark, so you're saying you're looking at 35 plus 12, you're looking at 47,000. Tapos, I think now, because of the rates, in terms of qualifying, this is probably the hard part that stops people from buying, aside from if you can save the down payment, is yung how much household income now do you need?
Yes. How much is that? How
For
much is it?
600,000 with a minimum down payment, you're probably looking at between 135,000 to 140 household
Right?
income.
See?
So that's the,
That's
I think
tough.
that's the biggest, the more of the hurdle these days.
Yes. Yeah. Because right now, a lot of people are unemployed, you
Mhm.
know.
And
There's not a lot of jobs out there that's available. And I know that what they can do is they can tweak their down payment. They can go to
mhm,
mom and dad bank
mhm.
or bring somebody in to be part of, um, to be
Yeah,
included in the title.
so
Um, you
that's
know,
what's happening right now is I'm
I
having
think
to
that's
have
very
to go
smart.
back. Yeah, I'm having to
Yeah.
go back to people to talk about uh talk about having a cosigner,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
let's face it, like average income, I don't even know, actually, maybe it's at like, it's maybe 45, 50,000. So you think about average income, 40, 50,000, you're only at 100. So you're getting a shortfall of, you know, about 30 to 40,000 in a lot of
Right.
these situations.
Yeah. That's very tough. But I check for 600,000. I'm sure between 5 to 6, there's a lot, but just for 600,000 alone, I checked. And actually, there are a lot of
A
condos.
lot of inventory now, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of inventories. Look, there are 17 that came up. from Oshawa, basically all the way from the east. There's I was shocked. I was surprised that there are some in Toronto for 600K. The one in Oshawa, you can buy a semi-detached, not bad, eh?
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot in Toronto, mostly condos, between 600 to 1,002 square feet condos. Um, I don't know how old they are, because if they were older, then maintenance will be higher. But I'm just looking at the listing price.
Are we
And this
talking
one,
about low rise or high rise condos?
I didn't check on that one, but these are all condo apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's between the low and the high rises. It's between one bedroom all the way to, there's actually up to 2+1 for
Okay. Oh, wow.
600,000.
So
The
that's
two
good.
plus one is in Brampton, and 1+1 a lot in Toronto. There's some in Mississauga, even one in Vaughan. So it's everywhere, really. And I even found 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms in Toronto.
Okay.
Where's the area? I don't know exactly, but it's out there. You just have to speak to your trusted realtor, right? And then in Oshawa, this one here is 3 bedrooms. That's the semi-detached for 600. One condo stacked townhouse in Toronto, and one in Newmarket. Those are townhouses for 600K.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe we can try to see if we can put up some of those examples up as you're talking about it. So just give me the addresses and I'll try to see if we can put that in.
Sure. Let's just try Oshawa semi-detached for 600K.
Oh no, like maybe not
next
right
time
now
in the next
necessarily.
session?
No, I mean like I'll put it up as an example as
Okay.
we do post production with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you about it later.
Sounds good. Well, I think for our first episode, like I think the one thing the last thing that we were gonna talk about was the actual process, but I think from our conversations we've answered that the first step into this buying process is a mortgage pre-approval, right?
It's a must.
Because you can't be shopping blind out there, right? So you can't be if your budget is, let's say, 500,000-600,000 and you're looking at $800,000 properties, what's the point, right? So
Exactly. Yeah. And I felt really bad because, before we used to do that as realtors, right? But now it doesn't matter whether it's family or like a friend. It's really, you're doing each other a favor, right? Because it's really a waste of time for both parties. Now, if you know exactly how much you're pre-approved for, then we can save a lot of time. Like for me, a lot of my clients before, right now I'm doing mostly listings, but before, when I was working with buyers, I can get them a property within a week. Like that's how fast, because I know exactly all the information, how much they were pre-approved for, when they wanted it, blah, 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 where the location is. And I can just run the numbers and find the location, and boom, next time, they have a place, so it's very important that they get pre-approval. And I know a lot of buyers out there are curious and wanted to get a pre-approval, but they're taking forever to giving their information. Really, like employment letter, we go through this all the time, right, Pao? That's like the dilemma that mortgage brokers see a lot.
Because to add to that, in regards to the process of getting a pre-approval, is you have to get all of your documents in, because if you're stating that you make 100,000 and then your documents state that you make 80 because you didn't average out, or for some reason it was overtime, it's good to have all of the documents up front, because your pre-approval doesn't mean anything if I don't verify your documents right up front. So actually it's more practice for me to kind of gather all of the documents right up front so that we have an accurate pre-approval, as opposed to some just being verbal. And also, just to add to the whole idea of a pre-approval, the one benefit of pre-approval too is the 120-day rate hold.
Right, that's right. I always tell my clients that. I told them that if you get pre-approval now, you would know how much you're pre-approved for. We know exactly the number, and then when the rate goes down, given that you were given a mortgage rate, a variable mortgage rate, when the rate goes down, it will be effective. It's going to go down as well, right? And that's
even with the fixed, right? Because once
even
you get
even
when you get a rate hold, the idea is protecting you if it goes up. So you
Okay,
already
yeah.
have the rate, and then if it goes up, you have your rate. But if it goes down, I request for a lower rate for you, right? So that's the thing about a pre-approval within the 120-day window. So if
Yeah.
you're shopping for a mortgage or a property within, and you know that ideally it'll probably you're closing in the next 120 days, definitely number one advice is to get a mortgage pre-approval.
It's a win-win situation,
Mm-hmm.
really, because, when the rate goes down, your rate goes down too, And just for our audience, purposes, Pao, what are those documents that you require from them?
It depends on the people's situation. Whether when I say it depends on your type of employment, right? If
If they're
you're
not self-employed, just a
if you're
salary.
if you're salaried
Yeah.
employee, we need a job letter and
Okay.
last two pay stubs.
Mm.
Okay. So, but just in case, because if you can be salaried and you want, let's say, you make good bonuses as well,
I was
right?
gonna say, yeah.
So for the last 2 years T4s, and then we would
Okay.
do the average of that.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. So those are the basics. I usually, like, let's say when you send me a client, I kind of analyze that, or I can just put on the email. If you're self-employed, this is what I need, and this is if you're salaried, this is my requirements for income.
Given that all the documents that you require have been provided to you, how fast can you, what's the turnaround time for the
It
clients to
depends.
know
I
how
would
much?
say sometimes I get it within 48 hours. Just
Okay.
depends on the time of
On the
year as
lender too,
well, on
right?
how
Depends
busy,
on the
yeah, and the
lender.
lenders, yeah.
Okay.
So typically for
Okay.
pre-approvals, because pre-approvals, you have to understand too, are not fully underwritten. They're
Yeah.
not reviewing everything right up front until you have a live deal. What they're doing is
Okay.
they're
Yeah.
securing a
That's
rate
right.
for you, and they do a quick overview based
Mm-hmm.
on the application, right? The documents are more really at that point for your broker, because I
Okay.
would know that what they're gonna check, and I would know how they're underwriting, because given that my background too is underwriting.
Yeah. Okay. It's really for the real estate broker, right? So they know
It's more for the
exactly.
broker for the pre-approval purposes,
Okay, got it.
because
Yeah, that's
I'm
pretty
the
good.
one.
48 hours fast.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
That's why it's important to gather all the docs if they're
Mm-hmm.
really serious, right? If they're
Mm-hmm.
motivated buyer, just get it going, get
Mm-hmm.
everything ready.
Sounds
I
good,
always
Tess.
tell them that because I've been on that side of the
Yeah, you were
of the
doing
industry
commercial
before.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always tell them, please have all your documents ready,
Mm-hmm.
because once it's set, once it's ready, you've send it to the mortgage broker. You're my mortgage broker. You're pretty fast, thank God. I have you. It's like you're so prompt. Um, it gets done fast, and I can start working from my side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I
it's
think when your mortgage broker and your realtor is working hand in hand, it makes everything just more efficient.
yeah, it's seamless. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
really it's a stress free, especially for me too, because for me we work very well together because you're so prompt. Every time
Mm-hmm.
and you always acknowledge every time I text, email you, and that's I think is very important. And I know my clients say the same thing about you, so that it's very important to have a very good team.
For sure.
Working hand in hand. Did we
Sounds
cover
good. Well,
everything?
I think we covered everything, and I think for the most part, that closes our first episode for Pinoy Homes Canada. And
Yay!
I think it was a good chat, and I think it's
Yes,
more
it
of an
was.
introductory of what
Yes,
we're gonna
yeah,
be talking about, and hopefully that we find the time week to week to just connect in terms of I can talk about the financing end of things and where the market's at in that side with rates, and for
yeah.
you in the actually between the buying and selling, you can enlighten the Filipino community for the most part, as that's who we want to be talking to and try to educate more. Sana sa mga next episode mas nagtatagalog tayo.
I was gonna say, oh my God, that's what we said. We're gonna try to speak. We said we're gonna try, but we know that it's gonna be Taglish anyways. Pasensya na. We're gonna try harder next time. I hope
Sounds
that
good.
they're able to find, value
Mm-hmm.
in our chat. If they have, I think we're open to questions from them. Like if they have like any topic that they want us to tackle or talk about in our next episode, we'll be more than happy to do so.
For sure. So what we'll do is we're going to be posting this on all of like social media. So wherever, just comment, and ask questions, and we will address it on the following
That's
episode,
right.
hopefully. Right.
Yeah. We'll try to make it brief.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and concise for everybody.
Sounds good, Tess. And I
Okay.
think until next time, and we'll chat again.
Okay.
Okay.
Talk to you
Bye.
later.
Bye, Tess.
Bye. How was that?